Very good afternoon to all of you. I welcome all of you in this panel discussion whose theme is quite important, that is emerging researchable issues in social sciences. And in this panel discussion, we have three panelists, and two panelists have already joined. One is Dr. A.K. Singh, DDG Extension ICR, who is looking after all the extension activities of ICR, and he has been our former director IRI also, and he has demonstrated basically the abilities of social scientists to reach up to that heights. And our another panelist is Dr. P.K. Joshi, a well-known name in agricultural economics discipline. And Sir has also been associated from our faculty of IRI in the division. And he is a former director, South Asia IFPRI, and director NARM, director NIAP. So many laurels are there. So I'm really very fortunate that I have two tall personalities. One has excelled in extension activities and extension discipline, and other in economics. And we have third panelist, our own director, Dr. A.K. Singh, who is from plant breeding discipline and biological scientist. So we will be having perspective of all the three in basically what is our perspective and what kind of emerging researchable issues for social sciences in times to come, and that will definitely benefit our all the students who are currently pursuing MSc and PhD, and they have to go a long way in their academic career. So with this few words, now I invite our first panelist, first of all, Dr. A.K. Singh, EDG Extension, to share his views regarding the issue.
Thank you very much, Dr. Alka Singh, for giving this opportunity to me to come and join this platform. And we are happy that respected Dr. P.K. Joshi is here with us. And Dr. A.K. Singh, Director IRI, will be joining shortly. I can see Dr. R.N. Padaria, Dr. R.R. Burman, Dr. Jha is also seen, and many more colleagues will be definitely here, and all the dear students who are here and other colleagues who are here. The tone has been already set by Dr. Alka Singh about the way this training program has to be conducted, and this panel discussion in particular. I'm also happy that three disciplines which are very much related to each other, they are together. The students are here together. And I hope that in future also, once you take different kinds of research programs, all three should be there. Anyway, you are all integrating with each other for your thesis work. And that always happens. And I also find that many of the optional subjects, the economics choose the extension and extension choose the economics one. So that I have seen since many years. And I hope that this bonding will continue in years to come. Actually, one subject does not complete itself. I mean to say that unless all three comes together, it will not be complete in terms of making a complete analysis. And also the extension is one, I have to speak more on extension. So an extension is one which is incomplete without having, you can say, linkages, and you can say the kind of bonding with all the disciplines. It's not only the economics, statistics, but you have to be very close to the biological sciences and other sciences. And I often say that to be a good extensionist, also the field extensionist and also the researcher, you must know the subject first. Whether the basic agriculture you must understand. You come, most of you with the agriculture background. But even then, I find that many of you leave that agriculture knowledge behind and start working only on those subjects which are being taught at postgraduate level. So that experience you should never lose. And that's why I requested the IRI friends that in the division that you must have some courses so that that knowledge starts coming and keep on coming to you. And we introduced many courses also. One course we actually introduced was Dr. Joshi Saab was also there as a member of the academic council. And that was the science and society. And we said that our linkages, and this was meant not only for the extension and economics, but all the students of all other disciplines. So that's why we have been seeing the whole, you can say, the education and research system. And I hope that we keep on integrating with each other to get the best of the results. Extension in particular is quite dynamic one. You might be hearing many of the changes is happening in the post-COVID period, during COVID period. And the mode of communication itself has changed. And that itself, you can say, triggers us that what kind of communication we should work upon. If you look into the research and education aspect, the communication which you used to do earlier and the communication which we are doing today, it was, I can cite that we are struggling to establish video conferencing facility in the ICR system, but now this is in the public domain. Now you can use it anywhere, and we can access and pass on information, interact for a longer time and get the information, whatever we want. So this is the change, and accordingly, I think also that extension should also change. The kind of dynamics which are changing, you have to change yourself, your research also, priorities of research. And I find the government also taking a lot of initiatives. And extension moves with the, you can say, the mood of the public. That is also true once if you look into that, what are the national priorities. And today you will find that 5, 6 terminologies are all the time moving here and there. And whether it is biological sciences or social sciences, the research programs, the education programs are happening on them. For example, climate change is one. So extension is not also different from the society, and we have to make a study that how it is impacting the society. And it's not only the biological sciences, they will come with certain technologies, but they have to bring the technology based on our feedback, how the society is facing. Even the discussions are going on that how women are getting affected with the climate change, and how even the COVID has impacted farm women. Farmers, of course, have been impacted, but other sections of the society also. So we have to change the whole thinking in terms of setting priorities. Whether another issue which is coming up very fast, long back the sustainability was being discussed, but now again it has erupted. The government is very much keen that the sustainability aspects have to be taken into account. Why more fertilizers are being used and why not biomethods are being applied. And organic farming is being promoted. Even Honorable Prime Minister talks about natural farming. So all these concepts, when they are happening all around, the extension system has to generate database for this. If somebody says something, we as an extension scientist, extension student, we must generate the data which is, you can say, based on which it can be generalized certain findings. Often we find that the data which we generate is qualitative in nature, and we are not able to supplement with the evidences, the quantification and other tools to be used, so that people understand and accordingly the whole policies are influenced. And that's why a few years back, we conducted a training program with the support of IFRI, that the kind of research methodology which is required, even the impact evaluation is one. Whether we are able to make it, and sometimes we are giving a third-party evaluation, but this to be done very, you can say, emphatically and precisely. Our extension scientists today, again I will say, together with the economic scientists and also the statistician, we must build this kind of information before the country, that what is working and what is not working. So that evidence, the advantage you have, because you are going to the farmers, you are collecting the data, and you are making the analysis. And one thing more I will like to say that for the degree purposes, the small data sets generally for the postgraduate and PhD students we are collecting. And based on that, we are coming out certain findings. But Dr. Joshi Saab is also here. Can we think in social sciences to have a different kinds of research programs? I was talking to our colleagues also. Can we have network research programs for the students also? One topic fusion and students of economics, extension, statistics coming together from one institutions, other institutions can also join. And you can say then a bigger kind of study emerges, maybe in a project mode or in as a the research output on which they are working. And probably that kind of information and you can say the research outcome will be more usable for the society. And not only for the learning purpose, doing a thesis and just getting the degree, but the data which we generate, can it be used? So that way, I need to have some water. Excuse me. So this is one thing which I wanted to mention here. May not be for this group, but since Dr. Joshi Saab is sitting here and he is sitting with the National Academy of Agricultural Sciences, so this idea can be mooted. Can we have this kind of project or for the research topics also for the PhD and for the social scientists at least, can we think it of? Now, there are certain areas on which we have been trying that what can be the priority research areas in which we should work. And one, we could find that can we map the socio-economic and socio-personal patterns in different agro-ecosystems. This is one priority areas. Agro-ecosystems based information we do not have actually. And we have been trying to get it, but it is not there in the, you can say, the public domain. We find that the systems are changing at the ground level, but the whole extension system is also not aware about it. So the agro-ecosystem analysis for different areas is one, I can say, one aspect on which the studies need to be taken up by the extension scientists. The second is that many institutional innovations are taking place. And we also finding that dynamics of convergence are also happening. So these are the newer areas, and all the time we are talking that convergence is one area on which we have to emphasize. We cannot create a convergence model as such for the student research programs, but at least you can make a study of it, that what kind of convergence models are working and what it is not working. So the best of the cases you can identify, you can study and bring before the country. The third also we have been talking that what is the skill gap analysis and capacity development of stakeholders. This is another very important area on which we have been telling that what are the skill gaps. Are we trying to find out those kinds of the priority research programs in which we are exploring that what are the skill gaps, maybe for the extension workers, maybe for the farmers. And we also find that the routinely so many training programs are happening. But what is actually the gap? Can our students also come up with certain findings of the research findings from their own programs that they could bring to the... And the other most important thing which I also highlighted, the ICT-led extension models and you can say the ICT-led knowledge models. I emphasize on this particularly that, see, in the whole agricultural domain of, you can say, education, only agricultural extension is one subject which should work on ICT and more prominently. I will also say that you will not be able to do yourself, but you have to take help of a, you can say, computer expert, you have to take help of an IT man, but you have to think what kind of model you need and they can develop the software, but the content and other parts has to come from the extension scientists and extension students. There are many aspects on which the ICT has to play a bigger role. Other day when Honorable Prime Minister was reviewing ICR, so one point he said that can the advisory which we are giving to the farmers, can it be on the basis of telemedicine, which is happening on television? Some medicines, the patients are coming, they are asking the advice from the doctors. It is happening during COVID period. So can we have this kind of model for agriculture sector also? Can any of our institutions come forward, students can come forward and design such model of you can say, advisory in agriculture. So sky is the limit. Another thing we have been talking quite often, that there has to be a two-way communication between the farmer and the scientist, farmer and change agents, extension agents. But these two-way communication models, who will build these two-way communication models? Government doesn't find time. Many times we find that IITs come forward, IIM comes forward with certain tools, but we as an extension scientist, we are not, you can say, thinking so much in a forward-looking way that we could provide our own solutions, and we can take advice from those experts and build the kind of models. So that is another, I think, very priority area, how to use ICT. We are also telling what is the use of ICT. Other day I was talking with the IRI team, Dr. Padaria and everybody was there, and I was suggesting that can we have a model created by IRI. Of course, the students who are here, they can think of when they are working in their own institutions, that you can create a forecasting model of ICT, that different locations, you get the data set, and on those data sets, you forecast that this kind of, you can say the production is going to happen, or this kind of, the results are going to come in, or this kind of, you can say, farmer perceptions are emerging, and we need to change our whole agriculture approach in those regions. So probably you can say sky is the limit once you look into the ICT and its use in agriculture. It has to be a big thing, and it has to be done now. Probably this is the right time. Now another very important thing is nutrition extension, which is emerging very fast. That nutrition-based extension. ICR as a division, we have started one program, we call it NARI, Nutrition-Sensitive Agri-Resources and Innovations, NARI. And NARI, we kept it purposely because women would be the central of the whole nutrition program, which we are running in 100 locations in the KVKs. And all three areas we are choosing. One is the nutrition, nutri-based gardens, nutri-garden we call it. Another is the nutri-thali, means the recipe based on the local products can we suggest, because we have got a home scientist in the KVK. And many of the extension divisions are also having some experts who are in nutrition. So can we suggest those kind of, then another intervention may be the biofortified varieties which you are going to have. So all three components put together, they becomes, you can say, the focal point for the nutrition-based agriculture, which we are pursuing. So the studies related to this, I expect that this group can plan that what kind of nutritional aspects can be studied, the nutrition extension, how it has to be focused. And once you look into the whole nutrition scenario, you find three, you can say, areas. One is that you produce what you want to eat. And then production is so nutritious, you are willing to produce that what you are willing to eat. So one component. The second component is that we have got the money, so much of money we produce other things, but we are able to buy the nutritious food. So that is another aspect of it. And third is the woman-centric. When you focus on the household, focus on the women, then you will find that she is able to take care of the entire family. And they are themselves, they are suffering from different kinds of anemic and others. So these three components, if you are able to integrate in your research programs, studies also, that whether we are able to produce what we need to eat, whether we are able to provide that kind of income coming to the family when they are able to buy those products which are needed, or whether women are being focused to concentrate on this aspect. So this is another area which I will like to highlight today. Then the value chain analysis is another important thing which is coming up very vigorously, and it is done by economists also. And I think both of you can join, because once these farmers producer organizations are going to come, these value chains are very important, because the FPO will be commodity based, and those commodities which are getting produced in that FPO, how the value chains are getting created. Probably that kind of research again will have a prominence in our whole program. Gender, I have already spoken that the other aspect of gender, though the kind of involvement which is required of women in agriculture, that again you can have, other than the nutrition. Nutrition is one aspect, but other than nutrition also there are many areas on which we can focus related to women. And we also say that there is a feminization of agriculture, and especially in the hill area, you find that only women are doing agriculture, and most of the youth, the boys, are going outside. So in that respect, we have to think of the kind of extension programs, the kind of research studies which are required there. Then one is the technology and resource mapping. That is also very important. That what kind of technology is, you can say, working well in which situation, the kind of technology which is being preferred, and then also the resources. They are very, very important one. And these studies again may be part of the agro ecosystem and the technology mapping we have been telling. And in that respect, nutrition mapping also, once you are doing, our nutrition scientists can have a nutrition mapping also being done. So maybe quite innovative areas, maybe, but you have to work on this. Climate smart agriculture, I have already talked about. There is a big program of ICR. But once we try to find out the data, that how things are changing at the ground level, the data is not available with us. Maybe few locations we are able to do, but large sets of data are not available. And probably that is another area on which we can look into. Then one more area is very important once we talk about the ICT-based extension. And again, it was highlighted in the ICR review by Honorable Prime Minister itself, that we do not have auto-response system of advisory. We have got a lot of questions being asked by the farmers, but automated extension systems are not existing. So based on the question banks, our system can make an analysis. Analytics can be in place, and the system can itself respond. So that kind of probably systems also need to be developed. The students can come up, and also the faculty can support in this direction. Some of the organizations like SkyMed, they are doing about 1 lakh farmers, this kind of automated system. And very few persons are required to develop this kind of system. Once it is developed, it works on its own. And time and again, you can feed some data which is required. Otherwise, it will work. If set questions are coming, the response will go to the person who is asking a question. So that is another thing which is very important. Then looking into again the kind of facilitation which I wanted to highlight here, that in the country we have got 3.5 lakh common service centers created by the government. And these common service centers, almost more than one in a Nyaya Panchayat, because Nyaya Panchayats are around 2.5 lakh. So we are again trying to establish a network of the common service centers with the Krishi Vigyan Kendras. That is, somebody is coming to the KVK, he can ask a question to if a person is coming to the common service center nearby his village, from there he can ask to our KVK experts sitting in the KVK. Maybe a time is fixed up when they come and they can ask the question. So this kind of, again, the models can emerge, and this may be a good example of telemedicine or tele-advisory kind of model which we can have. Now, some of the areas in which, when my time is coming close, you can just remind. Thereafter, I will be closing.
It's fine, sir. You please.
So I think already 4 or 5 minutes is left only. So one thing I wanted again to say is that when we make studies in extension, we are not able to generalize basically the students' studies. If you bring certain findings, based on those findings, some general observations cannot be made out of it. Might be the problem is bigger and respondents are less in number, so we are not able to. So the scientists are also sitting here, Dr. Padaria and group, and Dr. Alka Singh also. Based on the primary data, only extension scientists, generally they do the primary data, they collect and make the analysis. But can this be integrated with the secondary data also to make certain generalization? That is another area probably I think to have some relevance, some more relevance, you can, not some relevance, but some more relevance of the researches being done by the students. So that again, probably we can think of that how we can. Then in terms of research methodology also, once we compare to whom we are comparing actually. I was talking today itself, Dr. Anjani Kumar, he was here in terms of that NAS impact study. And we were discussing that once we compare from one group to another one, we must see the competency and capability of both the groups. If both are similar, then we need to compare. And if they're not similar, it cannot be a kind of comparison. And that is how we lack in many of our studies. Our students go identify farmer and then really they take the data. And probably that doesn't make that much of value to the, you can say, the research outputs which you are bringing. Dr. Joshi ji will be highlighting one area. He has been telling that the students need to be taught more about writing research papers and reports. That is what you have been telling many times. I have heard your own viewpoint that the students need to learn how to read the research papers and also the reports. So that is another, maybe the communication skills in writing is required to be improved. And in extension, you need both skills. You have to be a very good speaker. At the same time, you have to be a very good writer also. So these two skills need to be developed in all the students. And well, I'm telling because students are here and you can do yourself. At the PG and postgraduate level, it is more of the self-study instead of a teacher coming and guiding you, but it has to be your own inner instinct to learn on these two aspects, these two skills, so that you are better prepared for the society to serve. So this is what major areas I wanted to highlight today, the areas in which we need to do research and also how to make it empirical and the way it can be acceptable to a large mass because we are doing some studies, but to make it more relevant, that is more important. The quantitative and qualitative data both are important. And I find that many of the areas in which extension researchers were doing research, like adoption and others, it has been adopted by economics, but the economic tools have not been adopted by the extension researchers. That is where we find people are lacking also. And since our very senior colleagues are here, the professors from the division, they will also look into that. The skills which are there, the methodologies which are there, they can be also brought here in the extension. And the students can be given knowledge and skills on those ones. So that your findings, your findings has to be so valuable that people start citing. And that's why the researchers are known by their citations. So thank you very much, Dr. Alka Singh ji. This is what I wanted to share.
Thank you so much, sir, for your very valuable suggestions, which is really very realistic. As we have very rightly said that PM in ICR review, he has mentioned some points which Director IRI has also circulated to all of us, and we have also circulated among students and staff. And very valid points are there. And really, I like your idea because we have many PG students and PhD students who are really working in isolated areas, and since due to time and resource constraints, their sample size is of course not very much appreciable. And hence your networking of the similar kind of studies in different locales, and so that we can just generalize some results on a particular issue. That's really a kind of thing which at least economics and extension division in IRI we can just try to learn and try to practice also. And you have given a very important areas in terms of like skill gap analysis and capacity building areas. Particularly nowadays, we have now online education we are talking about. So very recently, we have also done this kind of skill gap analysis, and we just found that some very pertinent results in terms of content designing, kind of thing, that capacities actually are lacking among faculty. So those are issues are really very practical and very important to all the faculty and the students. Now I invite, without wasting time, our Dr. P.K. Joshi, who is also here, and he can also supplement some of more areas and just enlighten us and our students about.
Dr. Alka, Dr. A.K. Singh, Director Sahab has come, I think. So you can.
He has come.
I think I
but
saw.
He has come.
Yeah, I am there, sir. But
I am available, but he may have some meetings and other things. Yeah.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon.
I would like to listen to you, and if you want me to speak first, I can. But I want to learn more from you, actually.
Sir, as you wish.
So, yeah. Okay, all right. Let me say I will stay and listen more from Dr. Joshi. Thank you, Dr. Alka, for giving me this opportunity. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to both Professor Joshi and Dr. A.K. Singh, our former Director IRI and DDG Extension Education, for very elaborate, highlighting the important points which should be considered as a research priority areas for future. Now, this training program was about the research methodology. And I am not a social scientist, but I do interact with a lot of farmers on day in and out basis. And when we see one project we were doing, APIDA has been doing this exercise of mapping the area under basmati rice cultivation. Now, this was outsourced to some companies, and they were using satellite imaging for basmati rice area mapping. Then they were using ground level data in terms of arrival in the mandi. What is the total arrival mandi wise, and which variety, how much quantity is arrived. And then there was a collaboration between the ground level data and the satellite imaging data, because satellite imaging data had its own problem. You have varieties, differentiation, variety wise is not possible. You can look at the paddy area as a whole, and then basmati versus non-basmati, that differentiation was many times a big problem. So many such cases, the research methodology have to be really refined, and ultimately it all resorted back to ground level data only, which worked really well in terms of estimating the area under cultivation of specific varieties also, because variety wise area procurement in mandi happens by variety. So there is 1509 category, there is 1401, there is Pusa Basmati 1, there is 1121, and every bag is procured by variety by variety. So that was always very, very authentic. But then what should be the size of sample, how many mandis, and in each district, how many mandis should be, studied, and so on and so forth. That is still a question that can really affect the correctness of the figures that we get. Based on all this, we estimated about 2 million hectare area under basmati cultivation, but there is no precise data that is available. So we need to refine some of those methodology. Likewise, one factor that contributes when we take these samples, farmer as a unit for collecting any data. So today is 31st, and there are some people retiring. You can hear the drum beats in the background. I have to speak a little loud. The farmers, if you take as a unit in the same area, you have small farmers, you have marginal farmers, you have big farmers or large farmers, and the very mental makeup of these farmers are very, very different. Now, if you go with a questionnaire which cannot fit to the requirement of all the three categories of farmers, so that also is a factor that has to be taken into account when we are designing the questionnaires when we are recording the data from the ground level. I was holding a meeting yesterday with the MGMG team, all the 120 clusters, and we were planning that if we can start for each MGMG, if not for each MGMG, at least we plan for 50% of them to have at least one FPO. Now, the very basic questions that were coming from all of these farmers, not having clarity on many issues, and that's actually slackness on our side that we have not been able to communicate very effectively, is that whether small farmers, marginal farmers can be part of FPOs, whether a landless farmer can be a part of FPOs, and those are the questions. Whether a FPO can have farmers from across different districts or different states, and so on and so forth. So that's what I was saying, that we must have a precise guidelines developed at the institute level, which we take up. At least we target about 15, 20 or 50 FPOs along these MGMG villages that IRI has adopted 120 clusters. We should at least develop something like 20 to 30 FPOs in this, depending upon which commodity we need to identify, and then developing a complete value chain from production until consumption. And area-wise, that has to be identified, because if you go to Rajasthan area and the southern part of Haryana, protected cultivation is a big avenue there. So we can have a FPO for protected cultivation kind of things in that area. And likewise, for each commodity, specific ones has to be identified. Then, I also wanted some of the studies to be done on we have a lot of commercialization activities. The one is impact assessment of our technologies. Until Professor Joshi came out with impact assessment of Pusa Basmati 1121 in internationally reputed journals published with collaboration with IFRI, we didn't have a solid documentation on the impact of the technologies developed by the institute. And there are many technologies like that. We have 2967, we have 3086. We know from different sources, whether it is breeder seed indent or we say state government and so on and so forth, that the coverage of these varieties is 80%, 75%, 90%, up to 90%. But what methodology, research methodology should be used to document the success stories in terms of impact of the technologies developed by the institute, which are many, that should be in fact brought out in terms of, again, sample size, number of districts, and each districts, how many blocks, in each block, how many villages. Those should be standard kind of SOP that can be used for this purpose. That will be really good. Then, I was discussing with Mahiko, and Mahiko in collaboration with Indigo, not the Indigo airline, there is a company coming from US, and they have come out with a innovation, two innovations. In fact, they have launched two platforms, a big one. The one is called Grow Online, other is called Grow Mandi. The Grow Online platform is a platform which provides opportunity for any input providers, whether it is insecticide dealers, fertilizer dealer, pesticide dealer, or is into growth hormones, or any agri input that is associated with that, seed including. Input providers can register on this platform. And on the other side of the platforms, you have the registration for the retailers. So as of now on this platform, more than 50,000 people have already registered. Now it's the virtual platforms on which you can display your profile. For example, I also discussed with Mahiko if IRI can be a input provider on this with respect to our seed varieties, because our seed varieties are very popular across the countries. and in many regions. And if we register there, then the retailer will place an order to us that we want this quantity of seed of a particular variety with advance payment, complete advance payment, and that much delivery is made. So this is one mechanism, and this is already very, very successful with the FPOs coming and things moving in a different directions. I think these innovations would be very, very important. The Grow Mandi, on the other hand, is a platform that provides registration of the FPOs, the farmers producing companies, organizations. They can register on that platform. And the other side, you have the consumers, which could be Residents Welfare Association. It can be Food Corporation of India. It can be any other organizations that will register, national, international. And on that platform, a FPO will put in information that I have got, say, 20 tons of tomato of this particular quality available with us. And there is a buyer available at the same time, and there is a deal done, and the payment advance made, and the collection made from your side. So some of those innovations, I think we have to adopt to, and also we have to come out with our own system as a national institute for future, which can become very, very handy in terms of taking our technologies to the doorsteps of not only farmers, but also to the consumers. Those are the few, I think, innovations that are required to be done. Another study, I think I have discussed with you, Dr. Alka, that we need to do in our licensing for, crop varieties for seed productions. We have different models of seed productions. We have farmers participatory seed production. We have licensing of varieties to private companies. And these private companies also take up production on the farmers' field only. From farmers, they buy and then they process and sell the seed. Now, if you can do some analysis of a farmer who is doing commercial cultivation and selling his produce in the mandi versus a farmer who is producing seed of a licensed variety of IRI and giving it to a company to which IRI has license, versus a farmers participatory seed production program where IRI is procuring directly from such farmers. In these three models, what is the benefit that is accrued by each group of these farmers? What is the percentage advantage and so on? That kind of analysis can really help in pushing which model we should really pursue in future in a big way. So I think those are a few comments that I wanted to make at this point of time. Thank you very much. And this may be relevant, may not be relevant, but this is for you to think over it.
Thank you very much, sir, for sparing some of your valuable time. I know that you were busy since morning, but I was pretty hopeful that you will make a few minutes for us. And it's really very enlightening to hear your views. And regarding your licensing of this crop seed variety, we have already, sir, initiated that study with the BPD also, and that questionnaire and other things we are preparing. And we discussed also with Dr. Neeru Bhushan. And for other things also, we will seek your guidance, and we will definitely try to come to your expectations. And that will also give a great sense of, urgency of research from or expectations from social sciences to all our student participants. Here, mainly, sir, we have 50 participants and 10 from IRI and 40 from non-IRI institutions. From various universities, students are here, and they are pursuing either MSc or PhD programs. So it's pretty good, your presence here. Thank you so much.
Just one point I forgot, and I would like to mention, please, is that when we are doing, our entrepreneurship development program and startups program under Pusha Krishi Incubator supported by RKVY, we have had more than 10,000 applications screened and about 150 plus, entrepreneurs trained, and they have been provided financial assistance up to 20 lakh rupees after successful completion of their hand-holding program. What is, worrying thing is that we don't get any agricultural graduates or postgraduates or PhD coming up for agricultural entrepreneurship. Hardly any, 0%. Most of the people who are coming, they are either IIT guys or they are from IIM. Those are the people, or Many of them, they are simple, farmers route, and they have some basic education. But we don't find any, entrepreneurship really coming from the agricultural graduates, postgraduates. And this is something really lacking in our education system. When we have a entrepreneurship development program at master's level, there we should have the specialist in a specific field. For example, a person who has done a PhD in genetics and plant breeding, he knows in and out of the technology, but he doesn't have the training for the business skill. He doesn't have. So he should be trained for 2 months, 2 years period, or 1 year period. It could be a diploma, which can provide him enough skill to take up some of these activities in terms of business proposition. Because right now our entrepreneurship development programs are mostly limited to the students who are from social science, either economics or from extension division, and they do not have the technical backup in terms of the technology. And this, I think, we need to rope up after completing the PhD program, even if necessary, a 1 year or 6 months diploma, postgraduate diploma in business management to be made compulsory to some of these people, so that they are infused to take up some of these activities. That is not happening, and that is a question of worry. Even after doing graduation or post-graduation, we don't find people coming into this one. So much so that even after retirement, we are happy to work with some company as a consultant, but we never venture into starting our own business. Never it happens. So this is one thing, and this is all because of the lack of, the sense of security. Because we have not been trained in that direction. So this is something that needs to be taken into account in our education system.
Yes, sir. You are very right in that. So thank you so much, sir, for sharing your views. I think, Dr. Joshi, we would like to listen to you because our director also wants to listen you. So I request you to please share your views.
Kind of, Dr. A.K. Singh. So thank you, Dr. Alka. Thanks for giving me this wonderful opportunity. Honorable Dr. A.K. Singh, DDG Extension, and Dr. A.K. Singh, Director, IRI, Dr. Alka Singh, faculty members of the department, and both economics and extension, and students, friends. I'm very happy that this particular program has been organized especially for students. I can see the budding social scientists who will be doing excellent research in futures. And they will be, what Dr. A.K. Singh mentioned, I am also a member of the 3 or 4, these committees who are selecting the startups. And I also observed is that there are rarely any agriculture graduate or masters, they are candidate for startups. And then I started analyzing why it is happening. And I realized that no, we are not being taught, we never imagine big. We never dream big. We are being taught like, think average. If you go beyond that, we are being stopped. So we have to, first condition is that we need to teach our students to think big, just like Google did, or, this smartphones, you have example, disruptive technology, they thought big. Similarly, the space research, they imagined big. They thought that we'll reach to moon or we'll reach to Mars. They thought big. Therefore, they reached there. But, in our system, we don't think big. Therefore, we are not able to have good innovations. We don't have the innovations with the kind of we need. There are innovations in medical sciences. There are innovations in several areas. But in agriculture, we are limited to especially the varieties. So I used to say that the breeders, they think big. Other disciplines are not doing that big as we should have. But I agree with Dr. A.K. Singh that, the startups are not coming in our system. Either they lack in, they do not have the capacity or security or something else. So friends, I am very happy that this particular program has been organized on emerging research areas in social sciences. What are the emerging areas in social sciences? I am so lucky that I work with several of the biological scientists. Half of my research career out of 40 years, 20 years, I was working with the biological scientists. It's, really, I enjoyed working with biological scientists, whether it was my days in Karnal with Central Soil Salinity Research Institute or my days in ICRISAT, generally social scientists do not want to go to these biological science institutions. They would like to work in the mainstream institutions like IRI Economics Division or NDRI Economics Division or NCAP. They don't want to go to these institutions. But I realize that the importance of biological research organizations where social scientists can play very, very important role. So why social scientists are, they are important for in biological science research? Because the social scientists are more close to the society. They better understand the society. The plant scientists, they better understand plants. Soil scientists, they better understand soil. So our role is to better understand the society or our stakeholders, especially the producers or consumers or the markets. And now we can predict, through artificial intelligence or through machine learning, we can predict the behavior of our stakeholders. Unfortunately, this research area is not coming up in our system. Predicting the behavior of producers, how he is behaving, especially for adopting different varieties or different technologies, and also the behavior of consumers, what kind of food he would like to take in future. Google is mapping everything. Google is mapping our next step, where we are going, where we want to go. So many times monthly reporting I am getting from Google, that you walked so much distance, you traveled in these cities. So this kind of information, they are doing research on it. But unfortunately, we are not doing these kinds of research. We are doing the routine kind of research, average kind of research we are doing. Therefore, we are not growing. We are not using our mind. So I'll come to that using mind at the end of my presentation. And when I used to work with the biological scientists, whenever I went to biological institutions, first thing I used to do is read their annual report. So annual report, you get a complete program of the biological scientists, what they are doing, which are the areas, the breeding program, natural resource management program, or plant pathology or engineering program. So entire institution. Unfortunately, many of the social scientists do not read the annual reports, and they confine to their own research area, especially of the PhD, what they have done in PhD. They try to replicate this in respective institutions and respective organizations. So what I used to tell to my fellow biological scientists that, I will convert, you produce tomato, I convert to ketchup. I add value to their products. So they are doing research on developing some product. I add value to their product and make the higher impact of that's the role of the social scientists, because they know the society, they know the stakeholder. So now, what should be our research priority? Emerging areas. Dr. Alka Singh has said that emerging areas in social science research. What should be the? So let us start with the national goal. What is the national goal? That should be our, that should be from there we can derive the emerging areas for social sciences. So the national goal, if you see, one is that making Indian economy $5 trillion. This is one a national goal which our Prime Minister has given to everyone. So what is the role of agriculture in achieving $5 trillion economy? This is one broad area. Second is doubling farmers' income. How we can increase the incomes of the farming community. This is the second goal. And third is now during the COVID period, when economic incentives were announced. So it has come Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have to go for more exports, and we have to go for import substitution. And he gave a slogan, local to global and vocal for local. So the Atmanirbhar Bharat. So we need to fit our programs in a broader context of national goals. So what should be our larger goal for social scientists? What I feel that it is transform agriculture. We need to transform agriculture through technologies and markets without compromising our natural resources and environment for efficient, competitive agriculture and a healthy society. So we should have a competitive agriculture, we have an efficient agriculture, and we should also a healthy society, because Dr. A.K. Singh very rightly mentioned about the nutrition. So healthy society is also needed, which the varieties or the food we are producing should be safe, nutritive, healthy. So that should be our broader goal. So what I am doing, I am dividing my presentations into 5 broad areas of research areas. Many of very important issues have been raised by both the Dr. A.K. Singhs. They have raised important issues and given priority areas for research. So mine will also have some repetition on that. 5 broad areas. One, I will be dealing with the technology policy, which is my initial years, it was my favorite area when I was working with biological scientists. So technology policies, and then markets and trade, the second area. And third is sustainable natural resources. And fourth is on agriculture development. And fifth area is poverty, nutrition, and health. So these are, I thought that the overall framework which I have given the goal, I will see that these are the 5 broad areas where we can think of having some researchable areas for social scientists. When we come to technology policy, this is a evergreen area. And I have observed in my 40 years, majority of economists do not want to take up this area. That is why Dr. A.K. Singh said that extension group has taken over on it. Our economist friends in this system would like to work on the macro issues, broader aspects, agriculture, growth and development. But this area, they do not want to. They feel that this is very inferior area and they do not like to work on it. But for me, this is the, my heart goes in this particular area. This is an evergreen area. If you look to various journals in economics, particularly Agriculture Economics Journal, or American Journal of Agriculture Economics, or Australian Journal of, so any kind of journal, if you go through, you will find that the articles related with adoption, impact are more than other themes. So this is one area. And I have listed few of the topics which can be taken up. Both Dr. A.K. Singhs have mentioned. One area is, under this theme is, we used to know, when I was in ICRISAT, we coined a new term for this particular area. It is RIA, not the RIA which is now these days we are talking, not that RIA, but this is research, evaluation and impact assessment. So we coined this word in 1993-94. We developed a mega program in ICRISAT that we evaluate the research and do impact assessment. There we can do the priority setting. Now, when I went to ICRISAT, I realized that research priorities for the institution was done by the economist. So they were given the all projects, and then prioritization exercise was done. A very systematic priority setting was done. The paper was also published in Agriculture Economics, that how they have prioritized. A wonderful methodology, and it was more on objective basis, not the subjective that we select this topic, that topic, but objectively which of the projects are going to make a difference, which of the projects are giving higher returns, which of the projects are reducing poverty, which are the projects which are conserving natural resources and biodiversity. So that was my experience in ICRISAT on research priority setting. They were in the front, not in the back. When I was in CSSRI, we were mostly in the back benches. Whenever there will be a seminar or conference, extension and economics will have the two lectures at the end of the seminar or conference. But when I went to ICRISAT, it was completely changed. My presentation used to be in the first presentation. They said that you set the agenda. You know better. Our program should be driven by your agenda. And then we'll have the program at the end also. And then when I joined IFRI, I realized that IFRI was, developing programs, prioritizing program for CGIAR. Entire global research program was, prioritized by IFRI, and using different empirical models. Which of the programs are giving higher returns at the global level, which are reducing poverty. So research priority, research evaluation, impact assessment are very, very important programs for our social scientists, especially in biological institutions, and they can build up this program in a most effective way. In this one, we can also go for the constraints in technology adoption. Why the technologies are not being adopted? No, I have one very interesting example. I was in Ecrisat working in adoption of one important variety, which was on tour, which was a wilt resistant variety. I still remember the name number of the variety, ICP 8863. It was some line they used to say. So we did an adoption study, and this was a wilt resistant. And to our surprise, the variety was adopted more in Karnataka, but less in Maharashtra. Maharashtra wilt is a more problem, but adoption was very less in Maharashtra. So when we analyze and we realize that in Karnataka they have released the variety, but Maharashtra they have not released the variety. Therefore, the adoption was very less. So we went to Maharashtra State Seed Corporation. We gave a presentation to the chairman, managing director, production managing director, that this is the variety which is very important, and these are the impacts. And you are losing so much resources, so much money, because the variety is not being released. So now the production manager, he said, no, yes, we don't need the variety should be released. We can sell it as a truthfully labeled seed. And they started producing that seed, quickly. The study was useful to them. They realized that there are high benefits, and they started producing the seed, and then farmers got the seed, and then they adopted. In this one, as the earlier Dr. A.K. Singh mentioned, the targeting technology, where it can be targeted, where the technology can be targeted. So the doing a typology of the technology, we need to do the typology of the technology and superimpose with the typology of the socio-economic requirements and the resource endowment in the region. So if they match, then technology will be adopted. Whether the region is ready to absorb the technology, so there are two aspects. One is the demand of the technology and the supply of the technology. So whether the technology is, the region is ready to absorb the technology. What are the conditions when the region is ready to absorb the technology? So that kind of analysis one should do. I did this analysis. I really enjoyed doing this exercise. And some time back, I had a bet with my director also. Using my analysis, I had a bet of ₹1 bet with the directors that my results will be right. And he said, okay, Joshi, if you are so confident, start in that region also. I'm so happy that the results were very, very right. So this is another area, that targeting technology, how you target the technology using empirical analysis, and these were the empirical evidence. So that one is very, very important. And then future technologies. What are the future technology? Frontier technologies are coming up. But I have not seen much of the social scientists doing research on these frontier technologies, especially the social scientists, like the protected agriculture, precision agriculture, vertical farming, this hydroponics. These are the areas which are for future. They are future technology. I visited some time back a Navina Farmers Club. They are connected with around million farmers, and they are two acres of the land. And this complete farm was, is a complete modern farm, and they have all these frontier technologies, the protected agriculture, vertical. I was so surprised that vertical farming. In my imagination, the vertical farming was very complicated, but here they have made a simple vertical farming. The hydroponics, so it was so simple, and I realized that this is the future of Indian farming, especially for small and marginal farmers. Why this is not happening? Because we do not have enough studies. We do not have enough, bank credit for these kinds of technologies. Unless we have good studies, good evidences coming from these kinds of studies, the bank credit will not be there. So this is the first area where the technology policy, you can take up several areas and you can make your career in this particular field. The second area which is very important is the market and trade. Now the mindset is changing now. Traditionally, we were thinking only on production, but now production to marketing. Markets are becoming more important. After our Prime Minister has, Dr. Mr. Modi joined, he has started, changing our mind from production to marketing. And then it was again production to value addition, and then production to export. Now we are talking of export also. So the mindset is changing. So we need to see that the markets are very, very important for future of Indian agriculture. We need to do a lot of market research. But what happens when we talk of the market research, or whenever we debate on market, we do not go beyond MSP. We all the time say MSP, MSP. Don't go beyond MSP. Sometimes I am also surprised that people say MSP. I say even the biological scientists and technocrats are also not saying. They are also talking of MSP. They do not say the growth should be technology driven, not the price driven. Prices decline over time when the technology will compensate the profitability. You see any field that the prices are coming down, real prices are coming down, you are getting better and better equipment, better and better mobiles with less and less prices. So prices fall. But unfortunately, in agriculture, our mindset is that the profitability will come only from the prices, not from other sources. So profit can come from either from the technology. If you go for good technology, it can come from the diversification, moving from low remunerative crops to high, better remunerative crops. So we need to make agriculture more agri-business. So that professional change has to come in agriculture sector. So markets are very, very important. So in current situation, the three ordinances which government has brought recently, three ordinances during the COVID period, they brought three ordinances which are very, very important, and we are saying that they are historical, historical changes in the market reform. For last 20 years, people were talking. Most of the economies, most of the task forces reports were referring that we need to reform agriculture market system. The one was Essential Commodity Amendment Ordinance 2020, where the restrictions on hoarding has eliminated. The second is on Farmers Produce Trade and Commerce Promotion and Facilitation Ordinance 2020. This is basically to giving option to the farmer. We have now APMC, and every farmer has to route through APMC. His produce he will sell through APMC, and the buyer will also go via APMC. So there are taxes, from 4 to 5% to 18% taxes are to be given in the mandi. So farmer is being given this choice that you can sell anywhere, and buyer can also buy from the directly from the farmer. So here is an opportunity for all of us. What are the conditions when it will be successful? Whether really buyer will go to these farmers to buy the produce, in view of the large number of small and marginal farmer we have. The buyers, the big buyers, big retailers, the processors, exporters, if they go to individual farmers, their transaction cost will be very high. So they are not going to individual farmers. So we need to think of an innovative institutional arrangement, that how we build a model that the which has been given a choice to the farmers becomes successful. Can we have a consultation of the farmer, like farmer producer organization on one way, and then the buyer, bulk buyer, they are coming to buy the produce. So this is there, we have lots of opportunities to work in this particular area, and the right time to give some policy suggestions that what are the constraints or what are the conditions for making this amendment successful for particularly small and marginal farmers. What is the agri-business environment in different states? We develop a agri-business index. We prioritize states based on the agri-business environment. How the state is prepared for having more private sector participation. Private sector will go in areas where the public sector is less. To our surprise, Punjab was not having enough, was having low agri-business index, because the largely procurement is being done by the government. 80% states, procurement is done by the public sector. So private sector is not going to invest in Punjab. So how we can increase the investment by the private sector is to be seen under this particular amendment which has been made by the government. The third is the farmers empowerment and protection agreement on price assurance and farmer services. So this is basically to promote contract farming. Giving a level playing field for producers as well as consumers. I will urge all of you, especially to students and also the faculty, read these amendments, these ordinances. They are, 6-7 page each. So read those. Don't go to the, the newspaper based write-ups, but read those and have your own opinion, and see that what are the areas for your own research in these three ordinances which has been given by the government. The FPOs, how we can promote FPOs, how we can promote contract farming, why contract farming is not getting successful in several other areas, when it is very, very successful in poultry. The poultry sector, 80% poultry is in the organized sector. 80% is in the organized sector. There is very little intervention by the government. Little intervention by the government. And in that, it is largely contract farming. 90% in the organized sector, 90% is under the contract farming. And in this particular case in contract farming, we did a study of the Venkatesh hatchery, that how this contract farming is benefiting farmers, the poultry farmers and the industry, and also in between the vaccine who are giving, and the feed industry. So when we realized that, we did a comparative study with and without. Those farmers are, and but in some case we find that whenever some of the areas, the farmers who are not in contract farming, their profit is also same as contract farming. So there is the question that why the majority of farmers are going for contract farming if the profit is same in both the situations. So this was bothering us. So we further did an analysis, and we realized that the risk is a very important in the poultry sector. And then in contract farming, the risk, 80% risk is transferred to the industry. 80% of the risk is transferred to the industry. That is, attracting farmers to go for the contract farming. And therefore the contract farming was very, very successful. And if someone is from Tamil Nadu, I think there are many are from Tamil Nadu, and if you get an opportunity to go to Tamil Nadu, go to Namakkal district. Go to Namakkal district. I visited that district. It's a hub of poultry. And only 20 years ago, it was sorghum dominated area, and one farmer started with 500 birds. Today, 150 truck loads of eggs are being transported for every day. 150 truck loads of eggs are being transported from Namakkal. 150 is not a less number. That's the eggs, not the broiler. So that has completely transformed the area, and this was largely because of technology and institutional innovation, the contract farming, reducing risk of farmers, increasing their profitability, accessing good technology. So I will request that faculty members also go to this region and see that how it is happening. Another area which is very important on this one is, now government is saying one district, one product, one district and one product. Can we do some analysis, using the typology? There are methods available. I remember a few years ago when I was working in ICRISAT, we developed a typology of India. NATP period, NATP also developed the typology. Can we think of, we have 126 agro-eco regions in the country. Can we identify product for each region? Can we develop the cluster of districts or cluster of blocks for the commodities, one district, one, and then how we can develop the value chains of these products, so that the farmers are getting benefit accordingly. Whatever the commodities there, we develop infrastructure, we develop institutions, and link the district with the remunerative market. So under this, another important area is on Atmanirbhar Bharat, agriculture trade. So India is, net exporter of agriculture commodities. I am very happy that Dr. A.K. Singh referred about it, the Basmati variety. We are really proud of our scientific community, especially Dr. A.K. Singh and Dr. V.P. Singh. I remember that they were the architect of having this the variety, and now we are exporting. So in India is net exporter. We are exporting, total export is around 3 lakh crores, and we are importing around 1.37 lakh crores. A net trade surplus, we have 1.33 lakhs crores. So we are surplus in trade. India's share, although is very less, at a global level, is only 3%. We have the trade. Our presence is only 3% at the global level. The research question is, how can we increase this trade? What are the commodities which we can trade? Where we can trade? I give you a very interesting example. When the new Punjab government came 3 years ago. So the new chairman of the Farmer Commission, Mr. Jhakar, he came to me. He said, "Joshi Saab, can you help us? We want to, transform Punjab agriculture. We want to diversify Punjab agriculture, and we want to make agriculture market-driven agriculture, not the rice, wheat, or MSP-driven agriculture. Can you help us that how we can trade some of the commodities?" So we did a very interesting study for him, and we saw that which are the countries, and he was saying that can we target Central Asia, West Asia, and Africa? Can we target from Punjab? So we tried to see that which are these Central Asian countries, West Asian countries, African countries, what they are importing, what are the commodities they are importing, and what from where they are importing, and what price they are importing, and what time they are importing. Time is very, very important in trade. I give you an example that in the grapes, we have only 30 days the window. In 30 days, if we send our material to the global community, we are competitive. Before and after, we are not competitive. Other countries are coming in. So, which are the countries, what they are importing, from where they are importing, at what price they are. So, we did that analysis, number one. Then we realized that where Punjab has competitive advantage for those particular commodities. And then then you can think of now the taste and preferences. Taste is very important. Because the kind of taste the importing country is looking for, you have to produce accordingly. For example, if you want to trade rice in Southeast Asian countries, they eat sticky rice, not the kind of rice we eat. So if we want to promote export in Southeast Asian countries, we have to start producing, especially for export, not for domestic consumption. So or mango, for example, the Europe and US, they require less, they prefer less sweety mangoes. We prefer dasari, बहुत अच्छा लगता है dasari, more sweet, but they want less sugar mangoes. So we need to see their preferences, what kind of preference they have. Then food safety issues are important in the global market, especially when we are exporting to Europe or Australia or America or any developed country. Then these our neighboring countries. So food safety is very, very important. So this is second area you can think of and can work on this trade related issues. The third area in trade is again very interesting. Virtual water trade. This is being repeatedly mentioned that when we export rice, people say that we are exporting, virtual water trade is taking place. So they don't think that we are importing also many of the commodities which require water. So can we do some study where we can see that what commodities we are importing and how much water we are importing and how much water we are exporting. So 2 years ago, IFRI did a study. Will Martin and Laborate, they did a study, and they did for in China and USA, and they found that China exports 200 billion cubic meter of water. They export in terms of when they are exporting commodities. So 200 billion cubic meter water, and they import 150 billion cubic meter. It means a gap of 50 billion. Net loss is 50 billion cubic meter. They are net loss in terms of water. Not the actual water, the virtual water through these commodities. USA is, they have more gap. They are exporting 175 billion cubic meter and importing only 50 billion cubic meter. So they have more, they are sending more of the water, virtual water, than they are importing. India, we have rough estimates, the 500 trillion liter export, 500 trillion liter exports of water, and we are importing 240 trillion liter. We should import more of this water related commodities than we should export. So we can do some studies. If we are exporting high water use commodities, how we can save water, how we can reduce the water requirement of those commodities, so that we become in water also we can virtually surplus. So the third area of my topic is on sustainable natural resources. And here we have three broad areas: land, water, and climate change. So land. Land, what is the national goal? In land national goal, if you remember last year when this UN convention was held in Noida, our Prime Minister mentioned, he committed, India has commitment that we will be rehabilitating 26 million hectare degraded lands by 2030. $26 million, a million hectare land, degraded lands will be rehabilitated by 2030. So there is a question that how we can do it. What will be the investment requirement? So what will be the roadmap if we want to rehabilitate 26 million hectare area in next 10 years? Means every year we have to rehabilitate 2.6 million hectare every year. Can we do it? If we have to, we can do it. Where are the areas? We should immediately start working on those areas. How much investment would be required? So what sorts of technologies are needed to rehabilitate those areas? It's very, very important. I think that a network project should be started. One can start a network project. I was thinking, why not IRI should lead in this one? IRI develop a project on how develop a roadmap of rehabilitating 26 million hectare area by next 2030 by involving many of the state agriculture universities. Each state agriculture university work in their state, and the funding can, either you can submit proposal to NABARD or you can submit the proposal to the Ministry of Environment. They will be very happy because this is directly working to achieve the mission of the government. So a good proposal can be developed in this area. So each state will provide, what is the roadmap, at the national level we can give a roadmap to the government that how we should move, and India's commitment is fulfilled. The second area is water, and here our national goal is more per drop. We produce more with the per drop. Now the micro irrigation. We all the time say micro irrigation, drip irrigation, sprinkler irrigation, and they really improve the efficiency. But the problem is that why they are not successful, why they are not coming up in a big way in a country like ours where water is getting scarce over time. So one should critically analyze that why it is not happening. What are the constraints? The technology is good. There is no problem with the technology. So there must be something institutional problems. I remember when I was working in Karnal, and we had a wonderful project on subsurface drainage for salinity management. And our biological scientists, they developed the technology, and we did the economic analysis, we did the financial feasibility, we did the economic analysis, and benefit cost ratio, everything was wonderful. And everyone was saying that if the technology is so good and the benefit cost ratio is so high, why the technology is not being adopted by the farmers? And when we went to field, discussed with the farmers, and then we realized that there are lots of problems. It requires collective action. At that time, I was not using the word of collective action. So we said that group action. We used the term group action, and we wrote an article on it. And and I am so happy that within 15 days, the article was published in Economic and Political Weekly. So it requires collective action. Your technology may be very good. Your technology may be having very high rate of returns, but unless the institutional arrangements are not correct, it may not be adopted. So you can do on this micro irrigation, what sorts of institutional arrangements are effective. Is the subsidy creating problem? Because subsidy is also being given, and then it is distorting market. It is not leading to market competition, and that is affecting only one company is being promoted over the years. So other companies are in background, and the only company is getting more and more profit. So we need to analyze this in the perspective of institutional arrangement. Technology is good. We need not to doubt about the technology. The third is climate change, and the climate change. All ICR and CG centers, they are promoting climate resilient agriculture or climate smart agriculture. So one can do some good analysis on what are the investment opportunities, how to prioritize investment. Require good modeling analysis. You need some good models, and you can develop on that particular area. The fourth area is on agriculture development. And here, if you look to the national areas, national programs, one is, for example, PM Kisan. where the government is giving 6,000 rupees to every producer in a whole year in 3 installment. And then recently the PM Garib Yojana. So one can see that now how effective they are, how we can make these effective if they are not helping farmers, how the farmer are using these resources, how can we make it more effective, can we use this no this this scheme for clubbing all other subsidies and shift in this one. So can you give some new model to the government for this particular program? And during COVID period, a lot of labor was migrated, wages have been adversely affected, both sides, in surplus region as well as in deficit region. So one good thing happened, that in Punjab, we were promoting conservation agriculture. Direct seeded rice was being proposed for last several years, but it was not coming. But this year, it was because of labor shortage, large area has come under direct seeded rice. And one can test the induced innovation hypothesis. Long back, Binswanger and his team did the induced innovation hypothesis. We have not done this exercise on induced innovation. What are the triggers for adopting a technology? A technology may be lying in the shelf, but it is not being adopted by the farmers. So what are the triggers? As I say, through induced innovation. So what are the factors which are inducing farmers to adopt a technology? So that should be our objective, to support the how we can promote a particular technology. Then futuristic policy research, projecting demand and supply by 2020, 2030, 2050. So what are the demand? What will maybe the likely supply? So this area used to be done. IRI Economics Division is pioneer on that. Dr. Kumar used to do a lot of work on this area of demand supply projections. His research is being quoted everywhere. I remember, I think it was 2000 or 1999. There were 2-3 papers came on demand, the supply, on the demand of commodities. So one paper have projected that India will require 400 million tons of food grain by 2020. Another paper came with a around 250 million tons of food grain. So Dr. Paroda was DG. I still remember sitting in his room. He called us, 4 or 5 people. He said that, how should I make the policy? How should I develop the, propose my program? So whether I should prepare for 400 million tons or I prepare for 250 million tons. And then that time, then the authors were approached. These authors were approached, and they were asked to come to IRI and give a presentation. And I remember it was a wonderful debate. Everything was revolving around elasticities. Elasticities are very important when you are doing projections for demand as well as for supply. And the whole, I think it was presented, it was for 3-4 hours. And unfortunately, Dr. Parada could not come. Dr. Manglaraj chaired the session. But ultimately, the 250 million tons was approved in that meeting. And then I think these kinds of work you should take up. See that how elasticities are to be computed. Unfortunately, elasticities are not available for horticultural commodities. They are available for cereals, oilseed, pulses, but not for horticultural commodities. So first estimating the elasticities for horticultural commodities, and then because they are getting more pronounced in future. Similarly, for meat, milk, poultry, elasticities are not there. They are just doing based on the trend line. But trend line will not work in future when the demand will or supply will shift. Agriculture diversification also for future development and growth. Sixth area is on poverty, nutrition, and health. This is very, very important, and Dr. A.K. Singh has touched on particular area. I know India is, despite of high economic growth, and we have made advances in several areas, we are still facing the triple burden of malnourishment. Triple burden, one is that undernourishment, around 15 to 20% of our population is undernourished. Second is 40% children are stunted, underweight. The child mortality is very high. And obesity is another area. On the one hand, we have poverty, other are food insecurity, undernourishment. Second area is the obesity. And recently, Dr. Prabhu Pingali has done a very interesting analysis in areas where the poverty is there, they have more undernourished population. Where areas where prosperity has come, obesity is also coming up. So 22% and men and 24% women are having problem of obesity. So these are the how we can have a balanced diet through education, through behavioral change, communication. How do we have a effective linkages between agriculture and nutrition? How we promote biofortified crops, which our scientists are developing biofortified commodities. How we can help, especially in aspirational district. We have 150 aspirational districts. How we can work in these how we can improve the nutritional security in these aspirational districts. Again, a big a network project can be taken up on this with the state agriculture universities, working together. At one stage it will be their same methodology, same kind of. So you can have a good. And now a new concept is coming of One Health. One Health. Now after this COVID, the One Health is getting prominence. The human health and plant health, animal health and soil health. So plant and animal health, they are affecting human health. The soil health is also equally important. So these are the few areas where we need to do our own, develop some good research programs. But how much time now? Yeah, 2-3 minutes I will take, Alka. Lastly, I will, at the end of my all talks to young persons, I used to say a few motivational talks to them. One area I will suggest you that read a lot. The reading, you should have a reading habit. Unfortunately, in this system, the reading habits are not being built up. I have seen in agriculture, graduates or masters in agriculture, they don't read a lot. Outside their own textbooks, they don't read it. So read good books. And from scientific reading, I think I always say at your age, at least, one article per week you should read. One article per week. This is, you should make it a habit of reading one article per week. Make notes of that article, and then see that how you can use it for, even if it is of use to you or not use to you, but read that article, make notes, and then you will improve a lot. Your capacity of imagination will improve through by more and more reading. When you read more, your imagination starts, your mind start working. Then one good book per month. You must read one good book per month. And when you are reading one article per week, at the end of the year, you have 50 articles you have read. And one good book means in 1 month, you read at least 10 books, not 12, if not 12. And at least three papers in good journals you should publish. This is, you should every year, the 1st January, you should make a target that you will be doing these things. And when I was saying in the beginning, you should also dream big, imagine big. We are not being taught to imagine big. We are being taught the average, teacher comes and he teaches and he goes from the class. So there are very few teachers who will teach you to think big. You should have a big dreams. Unless you will imagine big, you can't make the things change. As I was mentioning, how Google came up. I always give example of Google. These, that time they were 23 years old boys. They are doing their masters. They were doing their masters and they were doing review of literature. The review of literature led them to develop the Google. And they were so bored while doing the Google and search the literature. They thought that can we not have a program that everything comes at one place? So they started doing research on it, that how can they bring all, if they give the keywords, everything comes in front of them. They started developing on that one. And then they were successful for the departmental thesis. They build up for university thesis. And then the latest the history. And then they are completely different. Google has to every day we are without Google we don't live. It's become our breath. Space research, you see that how they have imagined big, and the driverless car. And Elon Musk, he is thinking to send people to Mars or to space. He's charging. He has already collected around $1.2 billion that he will be sending people to the space. So he is doing research on it. They are thinking big, that how we, unless you think big, unless you imagine big, if you think in a routine way, you may not be a different personality in your own career. And for that, I always give 5 points, and quickly I will cover those 5 points. I always give at the end of the talk. One is the curiosity. You should be curious. A scientist without curiosity is not a scientist. You should be curious. You should see that how things are happening, why they are happening. You should ask question. Unfortunately, we don't ask question. Sometimes when I ask my some research support staff, why this has come, this number has come. Oh, sir, data ऐसा ही था तो आ गया. They are not thinking why it has come. So think on that. You should have more curiosity when you are walking, you are going somewhere. You should be, you should observe. Their curiosity should be there. Second is, now you should be creative. Creativity is the second component for your career. You should do things differently. Unless you do things differently, you cannot be a different personality. You will be the average person. So creativity will also be there. So that I think our teachers should teach, must teach our students, and it should come from your heart also, that the creativity. The third is the confidence. You should have a confidence, and confidence will come only when you will read a lot. And in research, when you use a good methodology, and your methodology is correct, as Dr. Singh mentioned, that sampling, the data, we do many simple mistakes, and our articles are not published in international journals. If we take those aspects into consideration, we do good research. But confidence will come only when you have a good research methodology. If you have good knowledge, if you have good understanding, then only you will have the confidence. Fourth is the communication. You should have an effective communication, both writing communication, reading communication, then oral communication. So all these communications should be, and then we should have the art of presenting things to different stakeholders. Yeah, if you have you have a farmer, you have to present in a different way. If you are meeting with minister, you have to present in a different way. When you are meeting bureaucrat, you have a different way. When you are going in the scientific community, we have a different presentation. I have seen people show same presentation everywhere. So your communication skill and connecting with the audience will be very helpful. It is very important to develop. And third is as a scientist, I think I give highest consideration to the citation. You should have a high citation. You should target for high citation. And it will come only when you will publish in some good journals, high impact factor journals, whether national or international journals. That will help you in, so there always I say 5C, 5C, and then if you build up, and if you can, I'm sure that you will take up these messages for your own personality development, also for your own research program. So with these words, Dr. Alka, mine is over, and thank you very much for patiently hearing to me. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, sir. Our minds have really ignited by your very motivated words. And I really like your 5 C's and your advice: dream a big, make a goal, read a lot, and make notes out of that. I think those few crisp words and sentences will make, lot of changes in our young participants' minds and their habits. And so nice of you. Thank you so much. Sir, we know that we have really outstretched with time, but since we have all of 3 stalwarts here, and I know that my students and my participants must be having at least 2 or 3 questions. So if you can please spare some of your valuable time, I think I want to give them then this kind of opportunity.
Sure.
So thank you. Thank you so much. So dear participants, you have all 3 stalwarts from extension, from economics, and from biological scientists. So please, just if you have any, as Dr. Joshi has also advised us, that have some questions, and definitely in your mind some questions are there. Quickly, if you can just ask, please raise your hands.
Good afternoon, madam. Sir, this madam and sir, respected sir, this is Ananya Chakravarti. I'm a PhD student from Agriculture Extension and from the University of Bidhan Chandra Krishi Vishwavidyalaya. And I'm doing my thesis work on health, nutrition, and poverty aspect. So, in my field work and in my data analysis, I have found so far that obesity is the basic problem. Means they are poor, but they are having lots of rice, and their calorie intake is very much. So that is obesity is very much prevalent in that case. And so I just want to ask, sometimes they're asking me that how they can get rid of this obesity. So I'm in some cases I am advising them to not to take so much rice. Instead of that, you can make roti or anything else. So they are saying that due to some time constraints, due to some resource constraints, they are not they can't take protein much. They are taking carbohydrate much. So that is basically not my question. That is, I want to share these things. So this is my field level analysis that I have done so far. And one more thing, ma'am. Uh, According to Abhijit Binayak Banerjee and Esther Duflo, the Nobel laureates, recent times, they have written a book and economics and some of the journals. So they are basically focusing on the development economics, means development. They are saying that you should give people money so that they can spend and so that they can improve their livelihoods. But according to my research and my findings, we are seeing that I have done research in women and in child nutrition. So they are going to schools only for getting the midday meals, and having midday meal is their prior goal, and they are coming back from the schools without learning nothing. So my query is that is developmental economics or is giving money is very thoughtful, and it's very ideal for our country, our socio-economic background. That is what I want to ask.
Sir.
Should I answer, Dr. Alka?
Yes, yes, sir.
So Ananya, very good. I am so happy that you have done something on agriculture and nutrition, and your findings are showing that the households are eating more of rice and less of wheat. Dr. A.K. Singh will be happy that he's a rice breeder. But this diet diversity is very important. Which is linked with the second question which you have mentioned about this, about the whether we should give money or we should give the in kind. If IFRI has done 7 or 8 country study, and what they did some RCTs, randomized controlled trials they did, and what they did, one is that they were giving food in kind, and second they were giving the cash, and third they were giving cash and kind. So these were the treatments, and what they found that and fourth was the behavioral change. This cash and kind plus behavioral change, for four treatments were there, and they found that the last one, when you have kind plus cash and the behavioral change, or cash plus behavioral change, they help the improving the nutritional security. Now behavioral change will not come in one go. For behavioral change, they said that one time visit, second time visit, third time visit, fourth time visit. So it requires a lot of persuasion to change the mindset of the community. So behavioral change, so this is one aspect, and there are perceptions that if you give cash to these stakeholders, they will use it for other purposes, especially they can drink, they can go for cigarette and all those things. But this was not found true. And the studies have shown that if you give cash, it is really going for the food. So the cash is good. And now in our country, for example, we have, now you will be surprised that 90 million tons of our stocks are there. 90 million tons. You can imagine how much the money we have used for stocking this, and how much interest Food Corporation of India may be paying on this 90 million tons, because they pay 7% interest on the loan they take. So if we start giving the cash rather than, so we reduce lot of subsidy, and also our case in WTO will be very, very strong. So cash, giving cash, I think over time, the way the government is doing the business, I am sure that by next 2-3 years, or at least in after 4-5 years, everything will be coming to the cash. Whether it is subsidy on the back end or subsidy in the front end, it will be cash, and we have to be more effective on the behavioral changes.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. So
Thank you, sir.
participants, quickly, we can have one question. Any one of you would like to have, please?
Ms. Neha Joshi.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, Neha, please continue.
Hello. Good
Yes, Neha,
evening,
we are
sir.
listening.
Am I
We can
audible?
hear you.
Yes,
We can hear
yes, you are audible.
Sir, actually, I'm final year student of MSc Agriculture Economics, and my research area is value chain analysis in the Kumaon region of Uttarakhand of green tea. As sir said, students are basically doing secondary data researches, but my study is basically in primary data. I'm analyzing the determinants of the crop, why farmers are choosing it, and the whole quantification of the value chain in Kumaon region. Just I want to ask, what kind of the questions that can be dealt with the secondary data in terms of value chain analysis of green tea? I just want to know what kind of questions or what kind of areas are those areas which I can deal with secondary data in value chain analysis?
Very good question. This, in fact, the question should be raised by you. That's why, you have to use your own brain. But I will tell you, since you have asked, you should ask the questions, what should be your research questions. But important thing is that one is that the competition of Uttarakhand with other states, especially Himachal Pradesh and other parts of the country. What is the competition with these, from where the produce is coming to Delhi market, especially most of the pea comes to Delhi market initially. So what is the competition, number one, and what time is the competition? What is the market arrival, and how much what time you should produce for pea. I remember we did a very interesting study with Indo-Canadian group. They wanted to, from Uttarakhand, they were producing this green pea, and they gave us 5 commodity. They gave us that you develop a business model. In fact, developing, it's a business model. Value chain analysis is nothing but developing a business model. They asked the question that what time we should produce in Delhi to get the maximum price. So we did the analysis, daily price analysis. For last 5 years, we did the daily price analysis, how the prices are fluctuating. Is it because of festival or marriage, and how the competition is taking place from different states when. So we gave a business plan to them that you produce this much quantity that time, and then you bring the market. So the questions would be the competition, the market arrival, price behavior, how the price is behaving, and then also the secondary market, if the prices are adversely affected, or in Delhi market, where you go next. So you should have a B plan also. So in value chain analysis, all a business model. You have to think as a businessman. You become a P businessman, then you can raise more questions.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. So I'm just inviting last question of this session. So please just take the advantage of that. Yes, please.
Raj Jaiswal, please go ahead.
Yes, thank you, sir, for the session. So my question is that many times we have many secondary data to NSS, and we try to analyze something from those data, but we don't have the knowledge of what methodology we should apply to those data. How could we access the new methodologies? Means one thing, we used to go for many research papers so that we can have some methodology, because means a person don't have knowledge of each and every methodology. We have to go through the research papers like that. But what we should do when we have some data to get some analysis on that data.
Do a good review of literature is the best way. No, you have to do good review of literature on methodologies. There are several people are using NSSO data, using the secondary data analysis, and you can find lots of methodologies. The new methodologies, new tools are coming up. You see, you just search lots of, IFRI is also developing policy tools. They have a site there, and the policy tools are already there. One can see there are training programs are happening on, for improve new methodologies. You can enroll yourself for new methodologies. So that is the way you have to on new methodology. And I feel that student is also teaching to your guide. Guide may not be knowing many of the methodologies, so you have to help the your own department, your own system to use good methodology. So students are better for new innovations which they do. So try to see several sites, do a good review of literature on methodologies if you are more interested to methodologies. So unfortunately, students are not doing good review of literature. They copy from other theses, the previous year's thesis they copy and then produce same thing. So if you are really want to do good research, do a good review and synthesize the articles and then report.
Yes, sir. Like that, most of the time we replicate the things. Like something happened in some state, we used to replicate in other area. So that's why I was asking.
So I think you should, if you take a different problem, take a different issue, do it from your own perspective. And Lalka, Dr. A.K. Singh, I think is interested, want to say something.
Yes, sir. Sir, please.
Director Sahab, You want to say something? No? Okay, sorry.
No, the point is that, as he says, that there should be a SOP on the methodology for each situations. And one way it could be that, the topic that you are addressing, when, as Dr. Joshi said, when you do the review literature and read some papers, you will find what kind of research methodology other people have used who have addressed the same kind of issue that you are trying to use, whether within country or outside country. And then you will get a idea as to how to proceed.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you. So nice of you. So before I finally thank to my all panelists, I am just seeing Dr. Vishnathan is also here. So Dr. Vishnathan, you have also a pretty good experience of working with social scientists now. So would you like to add some words?
No, madam, thank you. Already they have told. I have nothing to add in this one. Everything is.
But thank you so much that you have taken so keen interest that you are here in the entire session I was just seeing. So now it's time to thank my all the panelists, and thank you so much, Dr. A.K. Singh, DDG Extension, our esteemed Director IRI, Dr. A.K. Singh, and Dr. P.K. Joshi, for giving a very kind of holistic approach that actually I just wanted to have this kind of session. That is perspective of economist, extension, and biological scientist, and how social scientists should have those kind of research agenda that should serve basically a kind of multidisciplinary institute. So I think we have pretty good and very exhaustive discussion on various issues, and each panelist has very clearly articulated and motivated all of the participants. So sir, actually you people have really set the stage for my rest of the 4 days of training session. So thank you so much for being here. And I know that you have very pressing engagement. And Dr. A.K. Singh, I was just actually, hoping that maybe Dr. A.K. Singh might not be able to join because he was having some review meeting, as he wrote to me. And I was just desperately, wanting to call him. But anyway, sir, I'm really happy that you all three have made it. And it's basically made our day. And this is the first day of this training program, and we have very many wonderful things for this. So thanks a lot to all of you. Finally, thanks to Dr. Burman, Dr. Vishnathan for setting the stage and motivating all of us. And my final words to all the participants for taking very keen interest in all the 4 sessions today and asking questions and be interactive. So thank you so much. Thanks to one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you so much. All the best to you, everyone.
Thank you, sir. Thanks.
Good luck. Would like to see your good research.
Yeah, definitely, sir. Definitely. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.